Ohara! Sabes que viste os filmes do Bruce Lee 1000 vezes, não foi? O Bob Wall entrou em 3 deles. Uma lenda viva das artes marciais, com o 9º dan de faixa preta e cofundador da organização World Black Belt Inc. Histórias incríveis do seu background de treino com o Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris e Lebell, e ainda dicas de networking e negócios que reuniu com a sua experiência no ramo imobiliário. Uma conversa sem limites, muito inspiradora. Bob Wall, para os meus heróis.
I can see the orange ball, but your head is gone. I can't see your face. And I'm in 2 places on this thing. I don't know why.
Wow. Let me ask my director. Jean, why can't he see me? He can only see my ball in my chest level. He can't see my head.
Without
this is my face, by the way.
Yeah, hey, a bearded handsome face.
Okay, we're ready to go. Finally. Okay. So, Bob Wall, you were in my Hall of Fame of the most technical trouble to get you in my studio. So I guess we're.
I have to agree with that.
So I guess we're white belts. I'm a white belt as well in terms of computers and all this technology. Oh man, this was a doozy. How are you feeling? Is everything okay?
I'm fantastic on the bad days, and after that, I get better.
How is this COVID thing and the confinement? How has this been striking you? Have you felt anything? How is it going on in Los Angeles?
You know what? My life has prepared me. By the way, I'm the most blessed human to ever live. I've had a blessed life. But having left home at 13 with $3 and being worth $2 million by 25, I never let things slow me down. And we haven't let COVID slow us down. We followed the protocol. We wear a mask if we go to the store or the post office. In the house, not so much. And, if we bring guests in, we go outside. I have a huge place. And so we really haven't let it slow us down. I just am sad for the people that panic about it, and for the people who've died from it. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of sad in that sense. But as far as we're concerned, it hasn't slowed us down. And I'm one of the blessed ones. I'm married 51 years and to the love of my life. So, I got great kids, I got enough money to be secure. So, I still train. So I really had a blessed life. I had the best mother. I had the greatest daughters and on and on and on. So when I look back, I go, whoa.
Incredible ride.
To answer your question, it's not slowed us down.
What was the best decade or is the best decade?
Now, I've really had, I've had some fabulous, I was born in 1939. So obviously the first 5 or 6 years weren't, that significant, except that I had an alcoholic father who abused me a lot. But, 13, I left home. 16, I came back and beat him up real bad. And he never abused anybody in the family after that. And I'd taken up wrestling. And so, I didn't know how to punch or kick in those days. But every decade has been fabulous for me, and so I'm really enjoying the heck out of the fruits of my labor today.
When did this martial arts passion start? Was it with wrestling? Was it because you wanted to defend yourself against, I don't know, maybe your father or some friends in school?
Well, it's two-sided. Number one, my dad stuck hay hooks in my arm. I still have the scars to prove it. Stabbed my hand with a screwdriver and stuck it to a pole, left me for an hour for a little lesson. Hit me in the face with a hammer. I've got a huge scar. Well, the scar is pretty much gone, but you could lay your forefinger in a groove. He almost killed me with a hammer.
Oh my God.
So at 13, I had two choices. I loaded a gun and I was going to kill him. And then luckily God spoke to me and said there's a better way, and I didn't do it, and I left. And then, within a month of my making the decision to leave home, because I had the greatest mother, worst father, but there was a kid named Richard Brindero in school, and he was 17, 260 pounds, 5'10", and he was a bully, and he always beat me up. And I was, at 13, I was 93 pounds in an era of 98-pound weaklings and 5 feet tall. But one day he made a big mistake, and I credit him, I thanked him, because he wrecked my bike, and I had to ride 18 miles each way. It was way out in the country to go to school.
Oh.
So my bike was real important to me, $7 bike. But anyway, he not only wrecked it, he put it on the drinking fountain and wrecked all the spokes, took out a switchblade and slashed the tires. I mean, he totaled out my bike. So I had to walk home. And but I got mad. I cried, as I usually did when I got beat up. And I was strong as hell. I'm a farm boy. I have tendon strength, unbelievable, but I didn't know it. And, so anyway, he flipped me over into psycho mode. So when he went in the bathroom, I picked up a brick, and he walked out, and I slammed it right in his face, and I broke both of his cheekbones. I popped out an eye. I knocked out all of his front teeth. I broke his jaw. He was in the hospital for 6 months. But I took the bloody brick to everybody in school, and I said, if you ever beat me up again, I'm going to kill you. And I'll take a rock, a tree, a gun, a club, a bat. I'll take a rock in my lap and jump off a roof and crush your skull in. So I scared everybody. So then I had about a year of scaring everybody. And now that was pretty cool. But then I moved away. When I decided to leave home, I went about 165 miles away to another town, moved in with an uncle. And so I decided I better learn how to defend myself. So the only thing available in those days was wrestling. And the lightest weight division was 110 pounds, and I weighed 93. So I got my butt kicked pretty thoroughly. But I started lifting weights and eating protein and stuff. And by my junior year, and my sophomore year, I'd wrestle with the heavies. I was going to get beat up anyway. I might as well get beat up by the big guys. And so they squashed me, of course, and squashed the shit out of me. But after a month or two of coming back, taking all the punishment they could deal with, and I already used to punishment. So like Gene Lebell and I, the way we were raised, we got abused a lot as little kids. So getting beat up, I always laugh at the guys who were 900 and 0. I was 0 and 900. When I'm 0 and 900 against my wife, I'm scared to go for 901 today. But at any rate, I started wrestling. And by my junior year, I went undefeated. I weighed 130 pounds. I was 5'7". Senior year, went undefeated. And I got a wrestling scholarship to San Jose State, went there. It was a hotbed of judo. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was Jewish dough, But at the second week, I got some flying lessons, and I thought this kid was going to kill me. And I had earned it because I was a cocky little SOB. I thought I could beat up anybody at 5'7" and 130 pounds. So first, high school wrestling to this day is only ground fighting. There's no stand-up, I guess, because of the injury potential. But anyway, the second week, this kid was a black belt in judo, which I didn't know. And so he gave me flying lessons. I thought he was going to kill me, and my toes scraped ceilings, So he beat me up for a week, and we went back to ground fighting, and I beat him up. And next week he would beat me up. And finally, after about 4 or 5 weeks, he came up to me. He was a Japanese kid, and he said, how about you better ground fighter, I better stand up. I teach you stand up, you no hurt me. You teach me ground fighting, I no hurt you. Okay, so we made a deal. And we were both like the hunchback of Notre Dame. I mean, we were coming to workouts, earning it. But at any rate, so I became a black belt in judo. I went and watched Gene Lebell win the Nationals 2 years in a row. He was 165 pounds. I said, that's my hero. I'm going to go train with him. Little knowing that he's the baddest man on the planet to this day. He's 86. He pinned a bear. If you care to see it, I'll pull out an 8x10.
Goodness. Do you have it?
No muzzle.
Do you have it over there?
Yeah, I have it.
Can you show it?
I have it.
Can you show it?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe this.
By the way, this is a Christmas card that we sent to Steven Seagal after I called him out. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Oh, I remember that. What was the name of that? You got a name for,
well,
for
it
that?
Was 1992 Black Belt Magazine. This is, by the way, when I taught Elvis. It was 1963.
Oh, wow.
How
was Elvis as a student? How was he?
He was one of the great singers of all time. That's another picture he wanted to take in '73.
Wow.
Because he loved patches.
Oh,
but
thank you so
I trained
much
him
for
a long
sharing.
time. Jackie Chan, whom I hired for Enter the Dragon.
Wow.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of my chokeout victims. But at any rate, let me find him. And this is the great Gene Lebell.
Yeah, yeah.
I moved to LA, made black belt with him. I was
That
his
guy's
fifth
the
black
greatest.
belt.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, let me find he actually pinned a bear. Here we go. This is incredible.
Oh.
To me and everybody else on earth.
Oh, can you please put it? Oh my goodness, I can't believe that. Can you put it more against the? Lift it a little higher, just a little higher, and more centered. That's it. Oh, oof. How old was he?
Now,
look at him all ripped up. Guy's huge. Yeah,
and you just see the picture in the upper left-hand corner. That was the 2 trophies he won winning the Judo Nationals. He beat everybody, undefeated. Nobody on earth has ever beat Gene Lebell, ever.
Oh, my goodness.
In the upper right-hand corner, that's Gene Lebell as the referee with Muhammad Ali and Inoki in the wrestling boxing fight. They picked him because he beat both of them up. But if you look at Gene's back, it's shredded from the bear. And you can see the bear has no muzzle and wasn't declawed. Okay?
Why did he wrestle a bear? Was that a challenge? When did that come about?
Well, Gene Lebell crushes pliers. He'd grab a pair of pliers and snap them. Oof. So if he puts his hand on you, it's over. I don't care who you are. He'll crush your wrist. Whatever he grabs, he can crush. So, but he's an interesting guy. I just love him to death. Doesn't smoke, drink, swear. And even though he choked out Steven Seagal twice and virtually everybody in Hollywood, from Jim Brown, the football player, anybody came on the mat or on the film, he's in over 3,000 movies. He's a phenomenal stuntman, the best ever. Motorcycle guy. But if you play with him, it's not a good day. He's only got 21 black belts. So you've got to be a masochist.
I would not play with him. I wouldn't even play Monopoly with him. No. You got it, Gene. You won, Master Gene.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I wrestled with him so many years and never even came close, to defeating him. Trying to put a leg lock on him was like trying to put a leg lock on a telephone pole. But he's a wonderful man. And anyway, he created MMA. In 1961, there was a boxer named Milo Savage. And he made the mistake of thinking that, all these clowns who claim to be black belts. Now, we're talking, the 50s and the 60s, and there was no way for martial artists to make money except teaching. There was no competition. So he foolishly put out a $5,000 challenge to any martial arts artist that would get in the ring with him. Well, Gene would kill his grandmother for $100. So you can imagine what he'd do to you for $5,000. So, and he and his mom owned the Olympic Auditorium, which was the home of boxing and wrestling in LA. And we tried to put it on there that boxing wouldn't allow it. There was no MMA in those days. And so we finally got it done in '62 in Salt Lake City. And Milo had by then figured out if this guy's crazy enough to accept with him, because he's a great boxer, that he must be somebody special. So he came in the ring all Vaselined up with spandex panties and brass knuckles and everything else. And Gene, let him have the brass knuckle. Hey, get him a bat, get him a club, bring 3 of his friends. I don't care. Come on. And so anyway, with all the Vaseline, it took 3 rounds to get the Vaseline. Gene was wearing a gi, and because that's what he did, was judo, besides wrestling. And so he finally body slammed him. He snatched him, crotch grabbed him, across the crotch and the shoulder and picked him up. He bounced him into the ropes and then crotch grabbed him. And I say, for exaggeration, leaped 16 feet in the air and body slammed him. And I thought he killed him, frankly. He was unconscious for 20 minutes. But nobody else challenged Gene Lebell after that. He's just a fabulous man, and he's amazing. So my second black belt was with him, and it really stood me quite well, because then I studied Thai boxing, then I studied American boxing. You learn how to sit down on your punches, and away from the karate, stuff of the day, where they went and left their chin up to get knocked out. But at any rate, and frankly, all the martial arts, I'm not picking on one, but Kung Fu, Shotokan, Shorin-ryu, Ishin-ryu, Taekwondo, they're all the same. Mm-hmm. In theory, they could kill you with one blow, but theory wasn't reality. Yeah. And so with Gene, it was all about reality. He boxed, he wrestled, he played judo, he did it all. And in fact, it's a funny story, because he went to Japan after the war to play judo at the top level. And every day people were trying to hurt him. Japanese didn't exactly like gaijin. And so every day he'd get a lot of their blood on his uniform. And he only had 2, so pretty soon it turned pink. Not bright pink, but pink from the blood of theirs.
Yeah.
And so when he came back, a lot of the Japanese didn't want, you had to wear pure white. And of course he's coming in, he's got 2 gis and they're both mini pink. Yeah, so pink. Finally he dyed it pink, bright pink. So he gave me, actually presented me, I don't know if I have a picture of it, but he presented me with a pink gi.
Yeah, I remember
I got into a Hall of Fame.
In a pink gi,
yeah. And the first time he did it, he gave me pink laced panties to go with the laced gi that was pink, right? And then about 3 or 4 years later, he inducted me to another Hall of Fame, and he gave me a duplicate gi of his with his belt that says Jean Lebell. So when I go to testing and stuff, I always wear his gi. He's just a kick. He's a total character. He's the sweetest, kindest guy. But on the mat, I don't care who you are, he's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
You know, Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, everybody I ever talked to, oh, you don't want to mess with Jean Lebell.
Yeah.
And he told me when I came to train with him, he said, kid, I got 2 gears, kind and kill. The rest are BS. And he's not kidding. Yeah, he's
he can
kind
also
of,
have
and every Monday.
A huge sense of humor. I can see that he has a huge sense of humor. And when did
he's
you
hysterical.
When did you meet Carlos? I'm going to call him Carlos from now on. I'm not going to call him Chuck Norris anymore.
No, his real name was Carlos Ray. I met 1964. It's the first time I saw him fight in Salt Lake City. He took up 3 of his understudents, you know, and there was a red belt that beat Mike Stone. And Mike Stone was invincible in those days. But all 3 of his students got trophies. Chuck lost. But I liked about him, like anybody, you know, losing's learning.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people get upset and they can't deal with losing, but that's how you learn. If you win all the time, what are you learning? So anyway, then I saw him again in 1965, and he beat a guy named Ron Martini, who was a fabulous martial artist. I mean, really one of the best, Japanese style. But Chuck beat him with a spinning back kick. I'd never seen one. And he whap, and just put it right on his chin. I went, whoa. So I went down to congratulate him, and we've been friends ever since. So, and then I started my school.
How old were you? 30?
Yeah, no, let me see. I was about 26, 25. No, younger than that. We were 23 because we took our first drink together. Neither one of us drank. So I was 23. But in any event, he's just a fabulous man. He's a fabulous, you know, martial artist. Very mellow, you know, peaceful, Pisces like my wife. He likes everything to be peaceful. Never been in a street fight that I know of. He's just a very mellow fellow. But anyway, we were just the best partners because he was a Tang Soo Do black belt, way better in karate than I was then. And, you know, I was a grappler and a street fighter and the opposite. But we were selling karate. And so we were egoless. I knew he was the better karate guy. He knew I was a better businessman. So our contract was simple. Okay, you're the boss on the mat. I'm the boss off the mat. And we just had a fabulous relationship. We built a huge chain of schools. We were the first ones that I know of on earth to specialize in teaching women and children. We're talking the 60s.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. At that time, it must have been taboo, right?
Nobody wanted, in those days, nobody wanted to teach women and kids because they didn't think they could learn. I got 2 daughters, and both of them could knock you out. I mean, they're deadly little girls. So we always believed they could. So I made my wife train. We were dating. So all my women, my mother knocked out her last guy when she was 69.
Oh, Jesus. And
so all the women in my life are nobody to mess with. And I don't. I just say, yes, dear, you're right again.
Yeah.
But we did without thinking, you know, because both of us, our fathers were alcoholics. We had the greatest mothers and the worst fathers. And so we saw people get beat up by abusive men. You know, a lot of men think it's their right to beat up women. And we didn't agree with that. And so anyway, the funny part of it is because we specialize in women, you get all the guys you want. Don't have to advertise. If there's lots of women, I guarantee you, like flies on honey, there'll be men. But anyway, we specialize in, built this large chain of school, and it was very successful. He was a fabulous partner. But I started my first school in 65 and end of 64, early 65. And I brought Joe Lewis in, who was then living with me. I had met him. We were both black belts in Shorn Roo, and he came in, and second time I sparred him, he always used to say jokingly, "Bob Wall tried to break my foot with his ribs. It didn't work." And he was mad at me. He said, "You only broke 3 ribs, Joe." You know, so anyway.
That guy was probably the second toughest guy ever after Gene Lebell, right?
Believe me.
Oh, my God.
He was fabulous. When I met him, he was 235, 6 feet tall, wow. And he wanted to be Mr. Olympia. But then when he started martial arts in Okinawa, when he was in the Marine Corps, he fell in love with it. And so he dropped down to about 215. He always said he was 195. I never saw him lighter than 215. But he was powerful, very basic, you know, side kick, back knuckle, sweep, reverse punch kind of stuff. And we do 1,000 kicks a day. But anyway, I was successful early financially, so I built the school and equipped it and gave him half of it. I just wanted to train with him. But then after a while, I loved Joe, but I would roll 20 students, he'd break 20 noses. I'd roll 20 more, he'd break 20 more. Joe, they don't come here to get their noses broken. They come here to not get their
learn.
Yeah. So one day I couldn't take it. And of course, he's beating the crap out of me daily. You know, we sparred 3-4 times a day. Did 1,000 kicks, 1,000 side kicks, 1,000 front kicks, and all that stuff. And so I got to the point where we went to the World Championships in '66, and I took third, and he won, of course. And that, to me, I was done. I had climbed the mountain. I had, you know, got a trophy in the World Championships in Seattle, Washington. And so anyway, I said, "Joe, I'm going to give you the school, the whole thing. I'm leaving. I'm going to go back to doing what I'm doing because I'm a money machine. I've always made a lot of money." And he said, "Oh, no, if you're going to leave, I'm out." So then I called Chuck Norris to see if he wanted to buy the school. And he said, "No, I want to buy you. I'll buy Joe out." And that's how we became partners.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, because probably you were the pioneers also in the teaching aspect. I mean, the philosophy. Because teaching is an art form, even though people want to be old school with the Western audience or with the Western customers, it's going to be something different. You can't just be old school and expect people to come back. So I'm sure that probably a lot of the fighters or the warriors of that era, of those decades, were doing it the harsh way. And just like you said, if you keep on breaking their nose, they're not going to come in. They're not going to come back in. So I'm going to say you're probably in the martial arts world one of the best entrepreneurs / networkers. Would I be right to assume so?
Yeah, I think so. Because I was always, you know, in college I studied business. My major was business.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was the first one on earth to manualize a school, which I did in 1965. And I got it to this day. I give it out freely to people who want to have successful schools. Because martial arts schools are like restaurants. You may be a great cook, i.e. you may be a great martial artist or teacher, but a lousy business person. You don't know how to get students, you know how to retain them, and so forth. So I wrote a manual, and that created a chain of schools. I gave it to June Rhee, which created his chain. I gave it to Tracy's, and on and on. For me, I would give you anything. You ask me, I'm not worried about you competing with me. You know, I want to compete at the highest level. But, you know, Pat Burleson, Alan Steen, I mean, most of the great ones in those days got their systems from me.
Is that manual available somewhere? Can you buy it? Because I'm interested in those soft skills, you know.
Well, if you send me an address, I will mail you one. I always give it free. I will not sell it.
Okay.
Because Chuck Norris's and my philosophy really melded well. For example, we said if any poor kid comes in and doesn't have the money, we don't believe in charity, but we agreed in the beginning. Okay, kid, say it's you, Bruno. You have no money. You're a single parent, latchkey kid. Okay. Clean the school for 2 hours, you can train for 2 hours. Clean the school for 4 hours, you can train for 4 hours. And we love military and cops. So if they were military and cops, train for free.
Okay.
We wouldn't charge you. Okay. So what we also believed, and this is what's missing in a lot of people, is I had the greatest mother in the world. I lost her a few years ago. She was 99, but when I was 7, she said, "Bobby, I want you to hate everybody." I go, "Mom, I don't want to hate everybody." She said, "Nope, you got to hate everybody that chose their parents." "What do you mean? That's not possible." "That's right, son. So you remember, if they're brown or black or yellow or red or white, it doesn't matter. Nobody chose their parents. So you're Portuguese, you didn't choose your parents. I'm Irish, I didn't choose my parents. And she said, reputation is what people think you are, but character is what God knows you are. Oh. So be of good character. So Carlos and I, we failed a lot of people. You know, he was Korean stylist, so brown belt was red belt. Mm-hmm. So we'd test people for black belt when they were a red belt. And if they were a bad character, we failed them. They may have all the physical skills in the world. And therein lies a problem with many martial artists, in my opinion, just as you pointed out. A lot of it's about most martial artists, they go there first to not get their butt kicked, and then they become tough. And then it's about beating everybody up. But the reality is it's about not beating everybody up. It's about being peaceful. It's like politics. I'm always disappointed in people who, you hear it all the time, don't discuss politics or religion. Oh, no, you don't want to do that. Well, we need civil discourse. Mm-hmm. It's important that you and I disagree, because then we can discuss it intelligently. And I don't hate you if you're left. I don't want you to hate me if I'm right, or vice versa. We should have civil discourse. That's what we need a lot more of. But in martial arts training, yeah, you get to be tough. Anybody who's studied with a good teacher becomes tough. But is that really the goal? The goal is to be a nice person and to be of good character. Don't lie, cheat, steal. Anybody that lies and cheats, I'm done. I'm finished. Mm-hmm. You know, I had one guy one time. I own a lot of buildings, shopping centers, office buildings, so on. And guy, one of my tenants, I had to evict. He wasn't paying rent, and he says, "Nobody likes you in this building." I said, "That's great." I said, "First of all, I got too many friends. I can't get to them all. And I'm not taking applications for any new friends. So I really don't give a shit." But I said, let's take you at your word. You say, nobody, I had 31 tenants in that particular building. Nobody likes me. Let's make a deal. We'll go to each tenant. Now you, I know you don't like me. I'm evicting you because you're not paying rent. But the other 30 students, we'll make a deal. You ask them if they don't like me. If they say they love me, I'm the greatest owner ever, I get $1,000. If they say dislike me in any way, shape, or form, you get $1,000. Well, 5 people later, I had $5,000 in my pocket, and he decided to just go away. So that's character. You know, the reality is you should be, the objective of life is to enjoy it and to give joy and to be a nice person. Then, of course, there's enough idiots in the world, anarchists and criminals and so on. Then that's people we get to practice on. And so I really enjoy beating the shit out of a bully. I don't like bullies.
That makes perfect sense. And what you were saying about people not wanting to discuss politics, I mean, your politics are your identity. I'm not even going to say identity. I'm going to say your belief system is something that you should be able to talk at a dinner party, and you should not hold a grudge against people if they think otherwise. I mean, that's becoming taboo in today's society. People here in Portugal, for example, whenever you ask somebody, what did you vote for? It's like, oh, no. Voting is a secretive event. So it's like, oh, okay. I mean, I wanted to discuss it a little bit, but if you don't want to, okay, I get it. But do they keep a secret about who they vote for in the U.S. as much as here, or not so much?
Oh, yeah, for the most part, you know, and I don't go out publicly saying who I voted for.
Yeah.
I vote, and I send money to the candidates I care about. But
okay.
My point is, you know, I'll give you a perfect example. I had the greatest attorney of all time, David Glickman. His eldest son became a student. And later his other 2 sons. And David was just brilliant, but he was very left. He was just the left of Lenin, and I was just the right of Attila the Hun.
Left of Lenin. Yeah.
But just because we did not hate each other. And I said to him one day, I said, you know, David, I said, even a broken clock is right twice
a day. Yeah.
So even the person you dislike or disagree with, they're right twice every day, just like a broken clock. So because we listened to each other and because we didn't hate each other, we respected. And my saying is, Bruno, I respect your right to be dumb and stupid. As long as you respect my right to be dumb and stupid. but let's have a little humor. Let's tell a joke. You know, what did the little boy, what did he say when he lost his puppy dog? Doggone. Let's just get a few more doggons in there.
Yeah.
And so I will tell anybody my political views if they want to discuss it, because 50 years later, Dave Glickman and I'm liberal socially, I'm fiscally conservative. So I don't have a party. Okay. And I don't vote by party. I vote for the best person, man or woman.
Okay.
And Dave is the same. But why? Because we listened. And what's the real tenet of martial arts? Respect. And a lot of people fake it. But the truth is, you want to respect your dojo. You want to bow in. You want to be clean. You don't want to curse. You want to present yourself as a normal, civil human being. And yes, you get tougher and tougher and your skills go up. But I believe it's very important. It's very unfortunate, in my opinion, and particularly the left. They hate you if you don't agree with them.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
It's becoming fascism. I mean, what they always criticize is becoming their thing, which is like, it's crazy to me. And I guess in Hollywood and stuff like that, if you say the wrong thing, I mean, you never work again, right?
Yeah, well, you know, I say in Hollywood the wrong thing all the time. I really don't give a shit.
Yeah,
you know,
but
I don't need their work. Every movie, I never set out to be an actor. Every movie I did it as a favor for Chuck Norris. I did it as a favor for Bruce Lee. When you talked about your friend being in the movie, what was it called? The
Blood and Bone. Yeah, my coordinators was in Blood and Bone. Yeah.
Well, the star of that show was a fan of mine. He called me and asked me, would I do it? Would I do a bit part? And I said, sure. And he said, I'm going to call you O'Hara. And so I did it. I did it out of respect. You understand?
Yeah, sure. And the experience.
So
I mean, I guess
it's show respect. And he's a brilliant martial artist. He's a very good actor. I like him a lot.
Michael J. White. I love it.
Every single film I've ever done, I've done it for the other person. And after the Dragon, Warner Brothers offered me a 3-picture deal, starring role. My wife and I discussed it. And we said, and I taught Elvis, Jack Palance, Brian Keith, Paul Newman, Eric Sumner, Steve McQueen, Freddie Prinze, and on and on and on. We taught, the Bonanza crew from Michael Landon.
Oh, Michael Landon.
To Blocker, to Dan Blocker, who was fabulous. So I've had a blessed life. I've been the highest paid instructor, martial artist on the planet in my day when I was teaching. Why? Because I don't teach BS. But I also teach you, I'm going to make you tough, but you need to be a nice person.
So, I guess, do you call it Return of the Dragon or Way of the Dragon? I never remember, where was it released as Return or Way of the Dragon?
Right, it was Way of the Dragon.
Way of the Dragon.
And you understand, the basis of Dragon, Bruce Lee was Lei Su Long, his Chinese name. And so every film was going to have a dragon in it. So Way of the Dragon is Way of Bruce Lee. Now, Return of the Dragon, after he died, Raymond Chow just changed the name to Return.
Oh, okay.
Changed 2 minutes in it. So it's the same film, but he could bring a new group of people thinking they're going to see a new Bruce Lee movie. Bruce Lee made 5 films.
Yeah.
And I'm in 3 of them, the last 3. And I signed to do the 6th one. So, and they changed all the names of his film. His original film was Fist of Fury, and they changed it.
Chinese
so many
Connection.
names, I don't even remember them all.
Yeah, Chinese Connection.
And the second film was Big Boss. They changed that name. And then Way of the Dragon, they changed that name to Return of the Dragon. I think the only one they didn't change was Into the Dragon. There was 2 different versions of Game of Death, but he only made 5 films. And, on that subject, I mean, Bruce was just a fabulous man. I loved him. And I did all of his films. I did Way of the Dragon. I was making 10 to 12 grand a week. I'm in the investment real estate business. I got $75 a week for Way of the Dragon. 3 months. Into the Dragon, I got $500 a week. I was making $15,000 a week. My wife said to me, when I got through talking to Bruce, he wanted me to come do the part, and he said, only pays $500 a week. I don't care. It's not the money.
It's not the money.
I said to my wife,
not the money.
I said, you know what? I love this kid. He's my first Chinese friend. He was a year younger than me, and he was Eurasian, part German. I said, I just love this kid. And I'm the one person he can beat on and kick and stomp. And I got world professional champion after my name. The first world professional champions legitimate were Joe Louis, Chuck Norris, Mike Stone, Skipper Mullins, and me. And 5 different weight divisions, super heavy down to lightweight.
So I guess the role of Colt for Way of the Dragon was supposedly going to Joe Louis, but he did not want to lose to a Chinese guy. Am I right?
No. He got into an argument with Bruce Lee, and there was one thing about Bruce Lee. If you ever said you taught him something, you were out.
Oh.
And Joe Louis, we all trained together. You know, I mean, Bruce used to come over with then Lou Alcindor, later Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when he was in UCLA. And every Saturday, pretty much for years, we would go take dim sum and we'd watch a chop socky movie, which I would mostly sleep through. They were so horrible. But Bruce was studying them. But, you know, it was interesting to see Lou Alcindor, 7'2", with Bruce Lee, a Chinaman, 5'7", Chuck Norris, 5'10", and me, 6 feet. But anyway, we were all good friends. The reality is that Bruce was a student and he studied things. And I mean, I got him up to $100 a lesson. He didn't know how. He was getting, I think, $25 a lesson. But Bruce was the greatest film fighter of all time. But he was also an amazingly nice man. He was brilliant. He was fun. He was funny. I mean, before every scene, we trained together for years. Okay, so we knew each other like crack. And he would say, "Well, I got to break something." Just before a scene. I go, you little Chinaman, you can't break shit. So I got a favorite picture I'll show you later of Bruce hugging me at the end of Into the Dragon. Well, every scene with him was a perfectionist, 4, 5, 6 times. And he unloaded on me. So his goal was to break something. At the end of 3 months, he can't believe he couldn't break something. And let me tell you, I got lots of 8x10s that I sell all over the world. I got tons of them with my feet 2, 3 feet off the ground. I say, "You really think he hit me? Huh. Seems like my feet are off the ground." So we were really close friends, but my character hated his character. His character hated mine. I killed his sister. I raped her. Boomity, bingity, bomb. But he was just an amazing man. You know, I miss him to this day.
So I got it wrong that Joe Louis was the guy for the role of Colt. So Chuck Norris was the first choice. And since you were
in Joe's mind, he had that part, but he got into a fight with Bruce because he made a comment that Bruce always said he taught Chuck, Joe, me, everybody, you know, and we were all professional fighters. Bruce never sparred. Bruce never had a competitive. He didn't care. It wasn't that he couldn't, but his mission was to put the greatest martial arts fight scenes on film. So people don't realize that there's actually different kinds of sex. There's love sex, hate sex, revenge sex, gymnastics. I mean, and the same thing with fighting. There's point fighting, kickboxing, judo, jujitsu. There's MMA, and there's film, and there's street fighting. I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of fighting. And just because you're the greatest film fighter doesn't make you the greatest street fighter. Just because you're the greatest street fighter doesn't make you the greatest MMA fighter. So the reality is there are different things. I've done them all, so I know the difference. But I perfected how to take punches and kicks years ago. Most people don't teach that, or they don't study it. But it's no more complicated than this. Take a brown paper bag, fill it full of air. Any 7-year-old girl will pop it. Okay? Fresh bag. George Foreman can't break it if you do one thing. Let go of it when he hits it. So exhale, let go of it. I lay on the ground at anybody. I carry 16 size cowboy boots with me. And if I can get a 300-pounder or a 400-pounder, I have them jump in the sky and stomp me in the groin, in the stomach. I don't care where, to show them it's a real technique. But it's that simple. Now, I have a whole process where I teach my students. But the reality is you got to open your mouth. You got to be in shape. Okay. I'm a rock, but you got to be in shape and you got to relax. And when somebody hits you, exhale. What do you do when you lift a weight? Exhale.
Exactly.
But a lot of people just don't study it. But anyway, I got my ribs broken by Joe Louis in '64, and that cured me. I said, that's not going to happen to me again. I'm going to learn how to avoid that. And when you get hit with the head, okay, it's jujitsu, which I adore. But when you get hit, drop your chin into your shoulder, absorb it. You can deflect, move, deflect. You with me?
Exactly.
You're fast. Yeah, I think I am. I'll hit you long before you'll feel it. You'll hear it. but you won't see it. So by studying with all these great people from the wrestling experience and judo and Gene Lebell and Thai boxing, which I did back in the early 60s, I knew how to leg check. Nobody did. So that was what I loved about Bruce. His goal was film fighting. He didn't care. But when Joe gave him a ration of malarkey, he went, and frankly, to be honest with you, Bruce Lee's favorite martial artist of all time was Chuck Norris.
Oh,
I trained with him way more, but he loved Chuck because Chuck is calm. He never says, I beat somebody up. In fact, he gave me a really good lesson way. He said, don't talk about yourself. I don't do that. Let other people talk about you.
wow.
If you're bragging, you know, well, first of all, 90% of people won't believe you're bragging.
Yep.
But if you don't say a word, you don't tell people how tough you are, others will tell it, and you'll become 10 times as tough because you'll have beat up 10 guys when you beat up 2. So Chuck Norris is a good example. But anyway, Bruce loved Chuck. And so I was his first and only pick. When he called us, we were at our Torrance school. We had a lot of schools. And Chuck got off the phone. He says, I'm going to Rome and Hong Kong. I'm going to be in a movie with Bruce. I said, well, Bell, we're 50-50 partners in the school. You're not going by yourself. I'm going with you. I paid my own way. Okay. Now on the plane, of course, we went coach because the entire budget for Way of the Dragon was $250. And so Arnold says to me, well, we're way back in coach, of course. And he says, hey, listen, Bruce asked me, he said, he can't afford the setup. So he's going to film me when I get off the plane. So if you watch Way of the Dragon and see Chuck Norris walk off the plane. Okay. So anyway, but he didn't have the chutzpah. So he asked me if I would do it. So I go up to first class, which they don't want coach up in first class nowadays. But I go up there and I asked the flight attendant, I said, listen, we're doing a movie and we're going to film us, Mr. Norris, when we come off the plane. And is it okay if I just stand here and ask the first class people to wait 30 seconds? That's all it would take. She said, okay. So I'm at the front. I said, excuse me, would you mind just waiting? We're filming. And so, of course, you hear that, and most people are nice about it. And Carlos walks out and he goes, that was us getting off the plane. Okay. So we get off the plane and Bruce says, you're here. Okay, you're in the movie. There was no script for Way of the Dragon. It was all in Bruce's head. There was no script at all. He'd go out and try to find a Way of the Dragon script.
That's like the Hong Kong way, right?
You're in.
It's like they don't have a script. It's like the
Kong.
Hong Kong way. Like, now it's a kick. Now it's a kick. Now it's a punch. Now it's a punch. It's like, how was the fight choreographies? I mean, did he in any way let you have any sort of feedback on the fight choreography, or was it all done, his way?
No, we discussed, well, a Bruce Lee movie is a Bruce Lee movie. At the end of the day, he's the judge, and he made the decision. But yes, he always asked Carlos and I, what do you think? I got many pictures, and one is I had an autograph of us in the Coliseum discussing Chuck's fight scene, which is considered one of the best, And
to
but
me,
anyway,
it is, To me, for sure, it's amazing. Yeah,
he asked for input, but at the end of the day, it was Bruce's decision, and Bruce created all the fight scenes with stickmen. He was quite a talented artist as well. But at any rate, he said, "Okay, you're in the movie, $75 a week." I got room and board, my food and everything. And then he wanted to film in the Coliseum. That was his dream. And it was closed, couldn't get in. My wife's Sicilian. So I have a few connections, made a call. Some Sicilians came to the hotel and they wanted a big bunch of money and Bruce couldn't afford it. And so they left. So I walked down and I said, hey, my wife is Uncle Jack DeSimone. He ran Michigan in those days. Is there any way you could help out? I mean, this is my friend. He just doesn't have the budget. And I talked him down to a much smaller amount for cash. Ran back up, told Bruce. We ran down, raced to the bank, and got the cash, and we got in the Coliseum.
Wow, nice.
Bruce was a perfectionist, so you'd do a scene perfect 5 times, but he wanted it low. He wanted the camera here. In fact, I remember in the Coliseum, because it was, to us, we were like mind blowing, and nobody had been in there for years. But it goes down floor after floor after floor, and you could realize how little the people were. I mean, the cells were like 4 feet high.
Yeah,
you know, and no way we could stand up in it. And but anyway, I was sitting there reading a book one day, and Bruce walks up and he says, "What are you doing?" "Reading a book." "Why?" "Well, I'm not in the scene." "You should be behind a camera. You should be saying if it's a hit." And but I said, I didn't know I could go near a camera. I'd never been in a movie, right? I never read a book again. I was behind the camera saying, "No, that was a miss. That was a hit." So yes, he always did pickup shots. He wanted lots of cover. He wanted lots of angles, because Bruce edited every scene in the last 3 movies he made. He had no say-so in the first 2 movies, which is what caused his big argument with Louis.
Oh yeah, the director.
He knew what he wanted, but Way of the Dragon, Game of Death, Into the Dragon. But again, when I came back from doing Into the Dragon, I was over there, early January 2nd, actually, 73, left the last day of March. I got back, and about a week later, he said, "Hey, listen, John Saxon really doesn't like his fight scenes, and he wants you to recreate them." So I did all the Saxon scenes in the golf course. One of my black belts, Pat Johnson, black suit, it's the dough roper, I got to break something.
Yeah.
John Saxon comes up in the golf course with his beautiful assistant. All that I did in Griffith Park in California.
Yeah.
But that was because Bruce asked me. Also, my establishing scenes where I break bricks and boards, and I had 2x2s broken over me by Tadashi Yamashita, who was a friend of mine. All that was done in Chuck's and my Sherman Oaks School. So many of the scenes were done here in America.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, the golf. Yeah, of course, the golf course.
But 100% of the golf course scene was done in Griffith Park.
So probably the early scenes of Jim Kelly were also done in the U.S. maybe when he's like
the scenes
with the Tsukis.
Yeah, the scenes where he beats up the cops. Hey, this Jig's got a passport.
Yeah, exactly.
And I hired Jim. For the movie. He was a friend of mine. And he nailed it. I mean, he just did such a great part.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And black. Oh, yeah. But that scene with the cops was done here. And another scene when he walks into the dojo, and one of the great martial artists of all time, then Steve Sanders, now Steve Muhammad, and he and Jim were enemies. They weren't friends. And so when I hired Jim, I told him, I said, "Well, you're going to greeting scene when you leave. You're going to go into the Steve Sanders dojo." And he said, "I'm not doing that scene." I said, "Well, you're out of the movie then." "What do you mean?" I said, "I love Steve Sanders. Steve Sanders is one of the great fighters, and he's a real dear friend of mine. And as my mom told me, doesn't matter if you're brown, black, yellow, red, white, nobody chose their parents. So judge them on what they do, not even what they say. It's their actions." And Steve Sanders, ex-military as I am, fabulous man. So anyway, I wanted him in the movie. But when Bruce called me, he wanted me to hire somebody because the guy who had that part, Jim Kelly's part, quit 2 days before, claimed he was sick. But I'm sure it's the $500 a week that he did, because everybody got $500 a week. And he didn't want it. I don't know that for a fact, but that's my guess. But anyway, I called Jim 2 days before I left and told him he was hired. And then we discussed this about the scene, which we shot before we left. And he said, "I'm not going to do it." And I said, well, it turned out that Jim had a school close to Steve. So they hated, they were disliking each other because he moved into Steve's territory. But anyway, I said, "You're going to do the scene," because Bruce called me and he said, "I need a tall, handsome, black man, well-built martial artist actor." Well, that's about 6 people on earth.
Yeah, at that time.
Yeah. And Steve is not tall, and he's lost a little hair. He's built like a brick shithouse. But, when I suggested him, Bruce said, "Nah, I need a guy tall." He wanted everybody big. Chuck and I both had to gain weight type of thing. So anyway, we did that scene. And I've always been happy because Steve deserved it. He was really he started the BKF. He's really an amazing martial artist.
Oh, that's amazing.
But yeah, it was fun. We had a lot of fun. And Jim and I flew together and to Hong Kong. And then Bruce found out how stiff he was and how stiff John Saxon was. So he said, "Take those 2 guys to the gym and stretch them out, because you got to be flexible for film." And Bruce and I were stretching all the time, on the set. Our legs up on block wall or a ladder or anything.
Yeah,
we can get our
there's a
leg on.
great
We're
picture
always
of Bruce. There's a great picture of Bruce I've read, and I have it here, the making of Enter the Dragon by Robert Klaus. And there's a great picture of Bruce stretching John Saxon. I mean, there's two pictures of him stretching John Saxon because, yeah, probably he was a little stiff. Did he have a martial arts background? Or?
Yeah, John had 11 years of Kung Fu and 10 years of Shotokan.
Oh.
And a couple of years he trained with Gene Lebell.
Oh,
but unfortunately, most people in those days didn't realize the importance of flexibility. So I took John Saxon and Jim Kelly to the gym every day and stretched them. And then on the set, they saw that Bruce and I were always stretching. Therefore, we made them stretch every day.
Nice, nice. What a great learning experience. I mean, imagine that. When I spoke to Andre Morgan, he said they had no clue. I mean, nobody's trying to do a bad movie, but they had no clue that it would be what it was, the highest grossing martial arts movie ever made, the most watched martial arts movie ever made. I mean, the classic of the classics. They had no idea, so I guess you guys didn't have a clue. So imagine, I try to put myself in your shoes. I mean, it's easy to say something like, oh, of course he did it because it was Bruce Lee. But I try to put myself in your shoes with all the hardships that go on in Hong Kong to do that type of movie. And I recommend everybody to read that making of, the book by Robert Klaus. It must have been so hard. And you making like 10 times more money a week with your real estate business. I mean, to be convinced to go, it's not that easy to say, oh, of course you would go. I mean, not everybody would know that this would be such a huge hit, right?
Well, you know, Bruce and I, Freddie Weintraub, who was a genius that created it, we three knew it was going to be a home run. We thought it was magic in a bottle. That was our phrase. Raymond Chow fought against Into the Dragon only because of Freddie Weintraub.
Yeah.
They met for a week.
It was the last dinner party,
Yeah, and he wouldn't allow it. Freddie says, "Oh, it's too bad you're not going to be a big star and do Into the Dragon because Raymond won't allow it." And Bruce turned to him and he said, "I was there."
Yeah.
He said,
"Make the deal."
Make the deal.
Yeah.
But Bob Klaus was a lousy director and not a very nice person.
Oh, really?
He did not. So, a lot of the crap he wrote is not true at all.
Oh, really? What did
he did?
What was not true?
Well, number one, he started the rumor that Bruce was going to kill me.
Oh, so
that's in the book.
So he did not get mad at you because of the bottle scene.
First of all, Bruce and I were super close friends.
Yeah.
I knew him longer than anybody. Nobody spent as much time with Bruce and know him as many years as I did. And we trained a lot together.
Yeah.
And he started the rumor that Bruce and I, Bob Klaus did not like Freddie Weintraub, did not like Bruce Lee, and really didn't like Bob Wall and Bruce Lee because we were only martial artists.
Oh,
we were not actors.
Oh, okay.
So
I get it. Yeah.
He would shoot John Saxon on a Capri and everybody else's scene 42 times. With Bruce and I, we do the fight scene. It was like nothing. He never understood it was a martial arts movie. Didn't like Bruce, didn't like me. So Bruce ran him off the set. He wasn't there during the fight scenes for the most part. Okay. But now we come to do the fight scene with the glass bottles. Okay. And dummies don't realize we're using real bottles because Bob Klaus wanted real bottles because he was hoping one of us would get hurt. Now you look at Into the Dragon, you watch when I first break the bottles, look at the size of the bottle on my right hand. And then when I start to stab them, it's a different length. Guess what? Bottles don't break the same way when you crash them. Okay. And Bruce's instructions to me were, Bob, we always do forward hand. We don't care if it's right or left. We're ambidextrous. But the closest weapon I have to you is what I'm going to use on you. It ain't going to be my back weapon. Now, karate people will go to the back weapon. Okay. Great in theory. But anyway, he taught me string line, how to take a punch, kick. Totally opposite of real fighting. I'm never going to show you hurt me in real fighting. In film fighting, you got to have the string line. So you got to learn to relax your neck and your shoulders and sell the hit.
I must say, sir, I have to stop you right here. You have probably the best reactions in every Bruce Lee movie other than probably Bruce Lee, because when you watch your reactions, especially as a rookie in the movies, as you were in Way of the Dragon, that must have been one hell of a tough fight to go along with the reactions. especially with the checks, with Bruce using the front kick as a jab, pow pow pow, and then going to the roundhouse. Your reactions are spot on because he was so fast that it's really, really difficult. And I say this knowingly because as a stuntman, I know that reactions are very difficult. So with the guy as fast as Bruce, I mean, that's really, really kudos.
God bless Bruce, because he taught Chuck and I how to do that.
Those reactions, yeah,
Understand?
exactly.
So when you say you taught Bruce something, you know, we learned from each other, and our objective was to make it great film. But anyway, back to our pal Klaus.
Yeah.
So we did the fight scene. Bruce said to me, "Okay," says, "you're going to be left hand forward. I'm going to be right hand forward." And so Bruce was a lefty, a right-hander. Okay, right hand forward. He always was ambidextrous. But anyway, he said, "I want you to break the bottle, and obviously for real, I'm going to take my forward hand and stab you. But that doesn't sell on movie." So he said, "I want you to come with your backhand, but I want you to stab my right pec. If you can shove it through my heart." So I'm going for his. So he knew where it was going, but I am trying to stab Bruce Lee. No BS. All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, we did this scene 5 or 6 times, perfect. But Bruce wanted low and high, and no Bob Klaus on the set. He wouldn't let him on the set. Okay. Yeah. So
like second unit directing.
Exactly. So like the 6th, 7th time we go to do it. And this time, now here's the thing. If you look at the scene, you'll see Bruce Lee standing right leg forward. Bruce does a right crescent kick. And that crescent kick, when I'm coming with the bottle, he's got to catch me between the wrist and the elbow, and the bottle flies away.
Yep.
6th or 7th scene, I'm coming faster and faster. My character hates him. I got to forget I love him. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to stab him. I'm getting faster each time because I'm free to go as fast as I want to go. So mistiming, he catches me behind the elbow. Guess what? The bottle doesn't fly away. Right hand jams into the bottle.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. That's how he got cut. We both knew it. Were we happy about it? Would you be happy as a stuntman if you hurt your best friend or one of your best friends? No.
Of course not. Yeah.
But we knew what the risks were. People don't stop and think. Real bottles, guess what? I got my original gi. It's cut to shreds on the back. I got to fall in the glass. But I can't look down and say, "Oh, there's a big piece here. I can't fly there." No, I just got to fall. And that scene was done several times. So guess what? I went through a few tops, and they all got chewed up falling in the glass. But anyway, so Bruce had to go to the hospital, get stitches. And so then Freddie Weintraub, we had to shut down shooting. And so 2 days later, he called me and he said, "You got to leave Hong Kong." I said, "Why?" "Well, Bruce is going to kill you." That's bullshit.
Really?
You're not running me out of Hong Kong. Bullshit. Let's go see him. Now, normally, Bruce and I trained every day at the gym, in his house, on the set, wherever we were, we trained. So because of the cut, it was really bad. He was off for a week. Bruce and I went to the house, Freddie Weintraub and I went to the house, and I speak Cantonese. I mean, I function. Okay. So we get to the house, and Freddie tells him, "Hey, there's a rumor you're going to kill Bruce." He said, "BS. It would be like you're going to kill your brother or your mother or your director or some close friend. It's not happening." So anyway, Bruce gets on the phone and he calls in Cantonese several people. "Where did you hear this rumor?" "Bob Klaus." "Where did you hear the rumor?" "Bob Klaus." "Where did you hear?" After about 5 people, we all knew it was all coming from Bob Klaus, who's banned from the set. So we went back to the hotel. Bob Klaus stayed at the same hotel I did. We opened the door. I slapped him right on top of the head. Oh. I mean, I slapped him. He fell on the ground. I stood on his hand and I twisted my foot. And I said, "Klaus, the rumors stop now, or I'm going to send you to the hospital and you won't be finishing this movie." And Bruce, because I had jumped on him first, and Bruce said, "Yeah." And then we walked out. Rumors stopped. But then 3 years later, when he's safe in Seattle, he writes this bullshit that Bruce is going to kill me and all that bullshit. Total bullshit. Read Freddie Weintraub's book. There would be no Bruce Lee without Freddie Weintraub. He was a genius, okay? Read his book, Woodstock, Bruce Lee, and Me, and see what he says. Some other idiot, a guy named Polly, once said that I wore padding, and one of the stuntmen told him that. I never wore a pad in my life, okay? And I'm proud of it. I'm a warrior. Read Freddie's book and see what he says about Klaus and the bullshit and the padding and the cut and if he was going to kill me. And there you'll get the truth.
I had no idea it got to that point. I had no idea. Yeah.
It was intense.
Yeah.
But to your point, back to the film, Freddie Weintraub, Bruce Lee, and me knew it was going to be a great film. And we had the advantage because every day Bruce and I would go see this, the shooting for the day. And we could see it. Plus, John Saxon, Anna Capri, Jim Kelly, Peter Bennett, the whole team. I got them all together in the beginning because I hired all the martial artists. I hired them all. And I said, listen, folks, the film is about making Bruce Lee a great film. So there's going to be no bullshit. And if everybody starts it and they don't get it, we're a team. Our job is to do exactly what Bruce wants and make Bruce as good as possible. Any bullshit, you're going to be gone, fired, off the set.
Yep.
Okay? So, but the fact is, John Saxon, Anna Capri, Jim Kelly, Peter Bennett, Sakin, all of them did a fabulous job. They all loved Bruce. They understood he's the star, we're not.
Yeah.
Script says Bob loses, Bob lost. Okay? It wasn't about ego. Enter the Dragon's budget was $850. Guess how that broke out? Lalo Schifrin got $150 for the music, which is fabulous. Bruce Lee got $300. Gee, $450 from $850. What does that leave for the entire movie? 400 grand. But we knew it. We were watching the dailies. We knew what was going on. So we were 100% opposite of Andre's opinion, and it proved to be true. It's the highest grossing martial arts film in history. In today's funds, it's way over $1 billion.
Yep.
Back in the day, it was something like 350 million that it did. But look, how can you not have a phenomenal film where the script was good, but Bruce added little things that we discussed, like boards don't hit back and those kind of things. Point your finger at the moon and so on and so forth.
Boards don't hit back.
A lot of things we added. My name, when I went there and I got the script, the original script, my name was Okata. I said, I don't look Japanese. I'm Irish. It's going to be O'Hara. I changed it. Bruce said, great. But there's a million things we did to change that script. We discussed it, and we put a lot of reality martial arts in it. And because Bruce is a genius, and because Bruce is smart enough to teach me how to break the string line so I could react to what he did, and because we had trained for years and years and years, we knew each other like books, and we knew it was acting. Okay?
Yeah.
But I knew it. When I came home, I told my wife, I said, this thing is magic in a bottle.
You're getting some sunburn. Do you want to maybe rotate because you're getting with the sun? You're getting hit with the sun.
Yeah, the sun's coming up. I can put this down over my camera. Unfortunately, we have skylights everywhere. And so, unfortunately, now I have to get under the hood.
If you want to rotate or something, it's fine by me. I don't know. Are you comfortable like that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Oh, okay. Okay. Nothing
you can
like
do the splits at 81, you're fine. You can stuff me in a box.
Nothing like some vitamin D, I guess.
Exactly.
So, why did you think you had a scar in each of the movies, other than Game of Death, obviously? 2
words, Freddie Weintraub. Bruce called me, let's just pick on Into the Dragon, and he said, go see Freddie Weintraub. He's the chairman of Warner Brothers at the time. And so I walk in, and it was a huge office, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And Freddie Weintraub saved Warner Brothers. He did a little film called Woodstock.
Uh-huh.
And he always said it cost $50, but it grossed a little more. It literally saved Warner Brothers. Into the Dragon, second highest grossing movie in Warner Brothers history to this day. Okay. So Freddie had a lot of responsibility. But anyway, he had a big office. I walk in, he's a big guy, 6'3", 260-pound Jewish man. I walk in and he says, hi, I'm Bob Wall. I'm Freddie Weintraub. He said, you an actor? Nope. Taking acting? Nope. You want to be an actor? Nope. You're not right for the part. Thank you. Goodbye.
That's easy.
So that was in Burbank. And I mean, literally within an hour, Bruce called me from Hong Kong, knowing that as the star, he told Freddie, Bob Wall gets this part. He's this character. Well, he and I didn't know. Later, as I got to know Freddie real well, Freddie said, he imagined the character being Jewish. The character would be Germanic, and he would be shaved head, wide chin. I have a narrow chin, and and he would have blood down here and maybe a swastika in his forehead, right? And so anyway, Bruce calls me, and like I said, we're really close. Got the part right. I go, no, he said I was too short. That's not what happened. Now, I'm 6 feet tall. Bruce is 5'7". So if I was too short, what was he? A dwarf? You're going to get a call in 5 minutes. You're going to be just right. Slam! 5 minutes, Freddie calls me. It's a long-winded version. I'm giving the short version. He said, we've reconsidered you. Can you grow a beard? Yeah, I got to shave twice a day. Okay. So he said, well, get a beard, which in 2 weeks I did. And, bad guys always wear beards.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it. I know it, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I got my beard. I go back, and he had me in Warner Brothers makeup for 2 days. And they were doing this and that and this and that and boom, the ding, the boom, the ding. And Freddie kept saying, no, 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 no. Well, later he said, Bob, you're a leading man type, and you're not vicious looking. You're such a sweet, gentle guy, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, so the end of the second day, about 4 o'clock, he went to the best makeup guy named Gary Morris. And Gary came in and looked at all the pictures of the stuff that Fred had rejected. And he said, got it. He wants you ugly. So he came up with the scar.
Yeah.
Now, that wasn't in the script. We had to change the script for that. A lot of things got changed.
Yeah, because I guess Angela Mao was an addition, a late addition. So I guess you didn't even have beer bottles in the scene with Bruce Lee. I guess you had a knife, right?
Yeah,
but then they decided to put like a symbolically the bottle because she killed herself with the broken glass. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and we shot a scene where I actually came in and raped her, but they didn't like it over there, so they took it out.
Yeah, it was too much.
So they just stopped with me coming in the window and her killing herself. Yeah, she actually killed herself after my rape.
It's great that way. I mean, it's much more. I think it's much more profound that way. I like your looking at her, and I remember getting the chills when I was a kid watching the movies. Like, oh my goodness! I mean, I felt the present much more than if I had to watch, a whole rape scene or whatever. That would be a little different in symbolically. There's a great story of Bruce Lee saying goodbye to you on the Way of the Dragon set as well, or not on the Way of the Dragon. Something about the airport.
Well, yeah. When we finished, Chuck, they finished his fight scenes first, and I had to stay an extra couple of weeks to do my fight scenes out in Kowloon. And Bruce and I we both wore contacts, and we're filming in the dirt. And so we were getting dirt in our eyes. And so Bruce had this eye wash called Darlin. And so that's the only thing that got us through. Later I got smart and just took them out. I haven't worn contacts for years now. But,
oh, really? Yeah.
But at any rate, so he always picked me up and he always took me to the airport. Well, this time he says, Bob, I'm really sorry. I got to do this and that. And he was always running around like a rat because he was the star, the director, the stunt coordinator, the producer, and everything else. He said, I just can't take you to the airport. I'm going to have the car take you. And I said, sure, no problem. So I go there, and I always go early to the airport, and I get there, and I'm already sitting in a secure area. And all of a sudden, I see what looks like thousands of people come flooding into the airport. I go, what is this? I look up, it's Bruce Lee at the head of course, he walks through security. I mean, he was like God. So he walks in, he's got a whole box of Darlin for me.
Oh.
And so, that was just the kindness and the generosity of Bruce Lee. I mean, just a little tip of show you what a fabulous man he was.
That's taking his time to go meet you and having a gift for you, a goodbye gift. That's incredible.
He probably went and bought the Darlin.
Where were you when you heard of his passing away? Do you remember that?
Freddie and I were doing a film. He asked me to do a film. It was Jim Kelly's first starring role after Into the Dragon. It was called, let's see, it was called something Jones. Black Belt
Jones. Yeah.
So we were shooting at a college, at a university off of Sunset Boulevard. And we were shooting that film for Jim Kelly. And then somebody came running up to me. I was standing next to Freddie, and they said, Linda Lee's on the phone. She wants you or Freddie. So we were running to the phone, and of course, Freddie grabs the phone, and she said, Bruce is dead. And as soon as he turned to me and he said, Bruce is dead. I said, car accident. He was the worst effing driver on the planet.
Oh, really? He was
fabulous athlete. Oh, he was horrible. I mean, you'd drive with him, and he'd be looking at you, and I'd be going, he looked at you all the time he drove, and I'd go, no, look out there, But anyway, it was heartbreaking. It was really heartbreaking then and now.
Oh.
But that's where we were.
Yeah, yeah. So, how was the mood later on, like 4 or 5 years later for Game of Death? How was the mood between the production, inside the production?
Well, everybody was sad, you know, Raymond Chow, Freddie Weintraub, Andre Morgan, me, you know, anybody that knew Bruce. It was just like inconceivable. It is still today. How could a 32-year-old perfectly healthy man die at 32? And great nutrition and everything else. But the fact is, I did the first 2 films for, you know, peanuts. But when Andre called me to do Game of Death, my wife and I talked about it. I said, it's not going to take the cut and pay. I did those for Bruce as a friend. But so I got paid more than anybody in Game of Death because I asked for it and I got it. But then we get there, and it was the part of the film business I don't like. Hugh O'Brien, they had me teach him because he didn't know diddly. And he was just an irritating guy. He was every day trying to steal, you know, other actors. You know, there were 2 Academy Award winners in there. Dean Jagger.
Gig Young.
Yeah. And Gig Young were both Academy Award winners.
How did Gig Young strike you? Was he a nice guy? I'm curious.
Super guy.
I'm curious.
I had him in my apartment many times for dinner. I introduced him to Script Girl he married.
Oh.
And that's the one he died with in New York.
Oh my goodness! But yeah, because I know of his passing away. It's like it's crazy. I mean, it's sometimes it's really bothersome to look at these guys and their careers, and they had it all, and then all of a sudden, he kills himself. He kills his wife, and then kills himself. I mean, it's crazy. Wow.
Well, but he had a bitter divorce, and his wife was a pretty well-known realtor, but apparently the divorce was bitter, and whenever he talked about her, it was with a lot of anger.
Oh.
And apparently he got into an argument with his then new wife, who I introduced him to. I mean, they had their first dinner together in my apartment in Hong Kong. But I suspect that he got angry at her and just maybe memories came back. I don't know. But my experience with Gig, you know, he had a little bit of a speech concern because I guess he'd been a heavy drinker. And so they thought he was drinking on the set, but I never saw him take a drink the whole time I was there. But he was a very nice guy, brilliantly talented. I mean, my gosh, look at all the Doris Day and Clark Gable. He was in it. You know, I liked him a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And Dean Jagger was also very nice, but Hugh O'Brien was a pain in the butt, you know, and I'm training him, and he's going around trying to steal my scenes, Hugh O'Brien scenes, Gig Young scenes, and they all told him to F off. And of course, Klaus was, again, a horrible director, but he was there. So he would bow and try to give everybody's scenes away. So I let him steal 2 or 3 of my scenes because I'm getting paid. Nobody knew, but I'm getting paid more than anybody in the film. Yeah. And so I thought, well, I'm going to get paid the same if I go to work or I don't, you know. But after a while, it became irritating, and finally, I just told him, "F off, no, done." So, but several of the scenes he stole were mine.
I would say that other than obviously the Bruce Lee fights in the pagoda with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and whatnot, and Danny DeSanto. Just to name a few, I would say that your fights are the best ones without Bruce Lee in it. So the fight on the ring with Sammo Hung and the other fight with Kim Tai-chung and Yuen Biao. So was it mostly Yuen Biao that did everything, or Kim Tai-chung? Kim Tai-chung was a great athlete as well, right? That is an amazing fight. That is a great fight.
Yeah.
You lose, Carl Miller.
Well, the fight is as a result of my collaboration with you know, who fought Bruce in the first scene, Into the Dragon, the garden scene. He gets choked out. Yeah. Sammo and I created that. And Sammo was quite good. And he was a graduate like Jackie Chan of the Chinese theater.
Yeah.
And so, but when I originally signed the contract with Andre and Raymond Chow, I said, guys, you know, Klaus is a terrible guy and he's a bad director, you know. And the only reason Into the Dragon was Into the Dragon is because of Bruce Lee. But I said, he's going to screw up all the fight scenes. He doesn't get it. He doesn't like martial arts. And he definitely doesn't like me. And he certainly didn't like Bruce even more. And so I said, he's going to screw up the fight scenes. And he said, well, we're stuck with him. We got a 3-picture contract, Freddie said. So we go over there. I told him, and I sent him a letter, and I faxed him, and I went with a copy of the letter. Rob Klaus will ruin the fight scenes. So now I get there, and we start the fight scene with Sammo Hung and I, and he's not reacting. So I throw a kick or a punch.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, after I told Samo a couple of times.
Why do you think? Why do you think that was? He's got great reactions.
Because he just had become a big director. Now he was back down to being an actor.
Oh, so he was being difficult. Okay.
Yeah, and he, all the Chinese opinions were they could beat up all those guilos, the foreign devils.
Okay.
So I knocked him out. And you look at him, I got pictures of him. I mean, I knocked him out severely twice. I kicked him right out of the ropes. He was unconscious for 5 minutes. And then he asked me in China, why are you doing that? I said, it's very simple. In Enter the Dragon, as in Way of the Dragon, my character, it said in the script, Bruce Lee will beat up this character. That's what happened. In this script, it says Bob Wall beats you up, your character.
Yeah.
So we got 91 more scenes to do, and I'm going to knock you out 91 more times. You're going to react, because if you don't react, you got to sell me. It's time for me to look good on film. And so I knocked him out once more, and then he got the message. He started reacting beautifully. We became good friends. I got pictures of him buying me a Coke, toasting me. And he's a good guy, but his ego got away with him, And it's the same thing, the fellow that replaced Bruce Lee. Some of the scenes are actual fight scenes, are real Bruce Lee from the original Game of Death.
Yeah, I know.
And anytime when he comes in and I say, Christ, Billy Lowe, that's Bruce Lee.
Who the hell are you? Get going, fella. Christ, Billy Lowe.
We cut what we could out of the original. But at any rate, the Korean kid was a typical egotist too. So I had to educate him. I am who I am. So I beat him up. I got lots of pictures of me teaching him. Okay. And after that, he got the message. But doing the scene with him was challenging because I didn't have Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was the ultimate pro. He hits you here 80 times in a row, the same spot.
Yeah.
Speed, technique, everything. Well, this kid just didn't have it. Remember, I got to grab him, arms extended, hold him up while he spins backwards and kicks me.
Yeah, he does that front
easy.
Flip. Yeah.
Try that. You try grabbing some 150-pound guy like this and hold him up while he swings up and kicks you.
Yeah, okay? without hitting you, because it's very difficult. He had to extend the legs at the right timing. Was that Kim Tai Chung, or was that Yun Bio who did the front flip?
I don't remember his name, but he was a Korean kid.
Okay. Then was the Kim Tai Chung,
You lose, Carl Miller.
They had one guy that did gags. They had another fellow, a Chinese fellow, who did all the dialogue.
Yeah.
And then this kid, the Korean kid, did all the fight scenes. But he was no Bruce Lee. So it was real challenging. So I give a lot of credit to Sammo Hung.
Yeah.
Sammo was brilliant. And he and I created that whole fight scene thing. It was very cool. Very good.
We're almost done, because I'm scared that you might have a sunburn after this. But it's great. It's great. You don't have to go to the beach. Do you live nearby the beach? You live near the beach?
Well, we're like 20 minutes from the beach. And it's too bad, but it's the timing, because I got a skylight above me,
I just want to know some personal questions. You started your real estate business, Wall Street Properties, via the martial arts. I read that. What does that mean, via the martial arts? Did you start selling to martial artists? How did that come about?
Chuck and I were partners. I had a school in Sherman Oaks that made a lot of money. He had a school in Redondo Beach that didn't make a lot of money until I went down. I had him come to stay at my place, teach my classes. I went down, and his system was, Bruno, did you pay this month? Chuck doesn't believe anybody lies. You understand? So when I get down there, I say, Bruno, I went for a week, and I said, Bruno, did you pay? You got a receipt? No. You got a canceled check? No, you didn't pay. You've been here 9 months. You owe us $900. I'm not going to pay. Yeah. Yes, you are, or you're going to have a visit to the hospital. Okay.
So breaking bones, or the threat of breaking bones, is the greatest networking tool. Yeah, I get it.
Well, let's just say I educated a couple of people, and everybody paid. So I came back and I said, Carlos, I can pull you 30 grand in the next 30 days. And he said, "You got to be kidding." It was like I was $3 million I'm going to give you. And
Wow.
so I went down there for a month and I pulled out 36 grand. But I said, "Carlos, you don't have any books and you believe everybody is honest." So it was, and we became partners. He was against contract. And I said, "Look, written signed contracts are important so that we can agree to what we're both each going to do. It's a written agreement so we don't get off center." Okay. So I had contracts. And so anyway, I took over the business. Like I said, he was the better karate guy. I'm the better businessman. So.
And nowadays, you told me that at 80, and you're always going to be, you're almost turning 81, and you still can do the splits. You're still in incredible shape. What do you do nowadays in terms of training? Do you have any specific diet regimen? What do you do?
Yes. Well, for diet, my whole life, since I've been 20, I'm pretty much a clean eater. So 3 days a week to this day, I eat only fruits. So this morning's breakfast was all strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, and so forth, a banana. And then 3 days a week, I eat salads. And I don't put any dressing on it, just pure ass salad. 1 day a week, I eat anything I want. I fall back to my soul food, which is a fried egg and fried potatoes and toast, or whatever I want, whatever floats my boat, pancakes, 1 day a week. I drink a lot of water. Now, Chuck and I used to work out 7 days a week, and then I got him down to 6, and then I got him down to 5 before he moved to Texas. I train Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and I do a remote control. I've got a total gym. That's the best piece of equipment on the planet.
Oh, you got a total gym? The one Chuck Norris and
Chuck Norris and I bought. He bought number 5 and I bought number 6, and I still have number 6 out in my storage shed. They go to 12 levels. This one only goes to 10, but I kill everybody on level 6, and we warm up on levels 8, 9, and 10.
Nice.
But yeah, I use the total gym, and then I run, skip rope, punch the speed bag, do sit-ups, and stretch. That's it. And I invented a stretch machine really for Carlos because he had a real, problem with the flexibility. And so when he was doing, and I spent 40 years figuring out how not to do it. So I invented a stretch machine. It's called Dynamic Flex. And it's the only one that works. It's a real deal.
I'm going to check it out.
Pushes. If you put your hand up and have somebody push back, that's what it does. So it makes you relax. And it's foot position. And if you get on my machine in 6 months, anybody will have the splits.
Oh, okay. I'm
my mom
going to check
did
it
the
out for
splits
sure.
until she was 90. My wife does the splits. My daughters do. So the machine works. But I use that. I use the Dynamic Flex, the total gym, run, speed bag, sit-ups, stretch.
And last questions, but rapid fire questions. I'm very curious about your lifestyle. What type of music do you listen to?
My dad never allowed us to listen to music.
Oh, really?
So I'm probably the only person alive. I have a lot of cars, but I've never turned the radio on in a car.
Oh.
So I don't think about music. But my wife, thank God, thinks about it. She's got music on every day.
Yeah.
And so I love country western. I like jazz. I like, any kind of good music. I love Sinatra. So I have a variety of music that I like. I like Bach and Beethoven. So, but mostly we listen to country western. That's just what floats our boat. I met Willie Nelson. I was fortunate to know, and he wrote one of my favorite songs, "Crazy," with Patsy Cline.
Yeah. What about movies? What movie do you pop in if you want to watch something on a Friday night? What type of movies do you like?
I'm not really a big movie fan, but I loved Gone with the Wind. That was my first great film.
Yeah.
And it's sad now that these idiot racists pull it off. It's like the statue pulled down. I said, you can't erase history.
Yeah,
guys.
you can't erase it. Yeah. That is so stupid. I can't believe people are doing that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's only the anarchist criminal idiots, but you can't erase history.
Yeah.
And, I had to explain to my youngest daughter when they started pulling statues down. I said, listen, people, it's because they don't know history. And they'll go back to, white supremacists created this country. Well, hello, guess who? George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, the rest were white. That's not their fault.
Yeah.
And yes, they created this country. How do you have this country without George Washington, Thomas Jefferson? And I said, who is the guy that freed the slaves? What president? Oh, a non-slave owner named Abraham Lincoln. Oh, what was his political party? Not Democratic. He was a Republican. And he died for freeing the slaves. And so when they talk all that trash, I go, listen, how many hundreds of thousands of white people, Northerners and Southerners, died to free the slaves? And lots of those Southerners fought against their own brothers. They came to the North and fought against it. They didn't believe in slavery. But what more can you do? We freed them, okay? And what are your options? Okay, so you're one of the early people when slaves were first brought over, and so you really have three choices. Somebody brings you slaves, you say, just send them off into the forest and let the Redskins turn them into pincushions. That's choice A. Mm-hmm. Or B, just let them go starve to death somewhere. Don't give them a job. Or C, put them to work. Now, I'm against slavery. It was bad then. It would be bad today. But the fact is, there were not a lot of options. Okay?
Yeah. You got to have perspective.
And the fact is, white people figured it out after a while, thanks to Abraham Lincoln and many, many, many others. And they figured it out. It was wrong, and they got freed. Yes, they fought long and hard. I mean, I'm a big fan of Martin Luther King and his nonviolent philosophy. And so the reality is it's a progression. We all had to learn. But the guilty whites, I go, you know what? My family goes back to Betsy Ross, okay? And so nobody in my family was a slave owner that I've ever been able to find. So you murder somebody, you go to prison, you get out, you served your sentence. I think you should have your right to vote, and it's done. You paid your bill, okay? So I don't owe anybody anything, and I deeply resent any kind of racism. You know what? Because nobody chose their parents, as my mom told me.
Exactly.
So my reality is that we all need, love is the answer, not hate. And we need to love each other and judge people by their actions, and not even their words. I mean, Trump and everybody else, every politician says stupid things sometimes, but I don't judge that. I judge by what you do.
By actions.
And Donald Trump created the best economy in the history of America with all the silly things people say he says until the virus came. We had the lowest unemployment rate. We had the highest employment of blacks, et cetera, et cetera. He was doing a fabulous job. The virus came. Now, the dummies don't realize even a broken clock is right twice every 24 hours. Okay, give somebody some credit. Okay, and we get good ideas from the left, but unfortunately now they've swung so far to the left, and anything that's extreme is wrong, in my opinion.
It's difficult.
And they are wrong.
Get credibility.
And let me tell you something. Trump is going to win bigger this time than last time with all the BS, because Joe Biden is as near an idiot as I've ever seen. I mean, he can't put together three words, and he changes his platform every time he turns around. So imagine that guy. I mean, he would destroy America if he were to get in. But I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of acquaintances and friends. Not one single person will vote for Biden. So it's going to shock people. With the left, most of the newspapers are left, most of the colleges are left, and they're going to be in for a big shock. Okay, and the whole idea here with this, it's anarchism, I think, funded by Soros. I mean, they paid people to stack bricks in different countries, and they infiltrate the peaceful protesters. I'm a fan of people protest, but I'm not a fan of violent protests where you ruin some people's businesses, you break their windows and rob them. That's criminal.
Yeah.
And when you do it violently, that doesn't sound like Martin Luther King's philosophy to me. It doesn't sound like Gandhi to me. Yep. Peaceful protest. You got a right to say it. We got, in my opinion, we're in the greatest country on earth. But there's several great countries besides us. But this is a great country that I was fortunate to be born into. And we have freedom of speech. You could say anything you want. I don't hate you. I'll discuss it with you. We'll have a maybe even a friendly argument about it. And I'll try to converse you. And maybe you won't. But you have every right to your beliefs. We have freedom of speech.
Exactly.
But anyway, I don't like this anarchism. It's going to go on until November. It's because the whole idea is they figure if they can create enough violence and enough upset, some people will say, which I'm sure some people will, they go, oh my gosh, it's got to be Trump's fault. Everything's Trump's fault. The virus is Trump's fault. Everything. The violence, the anarchism, that's all Trump's fault. Everything's his fault. I go, really? Isn't that amazing? And where's all the violence? Seattle, it's Minnesota, it's Chicago. all left mayors and leftists, weak-kneed, rotten politicians. It's just like bad cops, just like the bad cop that killed, Floyd.
Yeah,
That was disgusting.
of course.
Do what should be done. What do? They arrest him and charge him with murder, and he'll go to prison the rest of his life. He's a scum. But what did he kill him with? A knee in the neck. What do they ban? Chokeholds. I go, hello, I've choked out hundreds of people. Nobody died. MMA has had hundreds of chokes. Nobody died. Look it up. So it's not the chokehold, it's the knee in the neck, which should be outlawed. But what do? They're so stupid. It's like guns. All I hear is from the left, gun control, gun control, gun. Wait, there's always going to be guns. You want only the criminals to have them? Because criminals will make a fortune selling the guns. So you can bet Chicago, tightest gun control on earth, highest murder rate. Why? Because they can get it from the criminals or go across the state line. So gun control is a bunch of bullshit. It's a mental health issue. We need to help mentally disturbed people. Everybody who comes in and kills little kids in a school. Why? We're a gun-free zone. There's no guns here. Come kill our children. Boy, let's not protect our children. Yeah. We're a gun-free zone. Guns are evil. Well, it's not guns that are the problem. It's mental illness. And we have people doing violence. I think it's okay to take people who are already suffering. Many businesses have been shut down because of the virus. But it's okay to go in there and break in their windows and rob them and then kill people and burn people. It's okay to attack cops. If we don't have police, I'm a huge police officer fan. I love cops. They get their life on the line for short pay. So what's the answer? Defund the police. Well, I know criminals like masks and defunding the police. If that's what you want, anarchy.
Defunding the police will only get more policemen who are not capable, because they already don't have as good training as good
Bruno,
training as they should.
There's bad stuntmen, there's bad doctors,
of course,
there's bad cops, but it's 2%. 98% are fabulous,
and it's
we
actually
should give a lot more respect
it's
to our
actually
police.
a great comparison that you just did with stuntmen, because, for example, I know how to get hit by a car, but I don't train it every day, so I might really get hurt whenever I go and get hit by a car for a movie. So it's not something that we work on or rehearse every day. We don't have cars to break every day to make sure. I can only do the takeoff and try to be as resilient physically as possible to get hit with a car and try not to hit with my head. But you know what? Like 9 out of 10, I'm going to hit my head somewhere when I get hit by a car, because it's not a linear science. So imagine going to a gunfight or something like that without having the right training, which is very difficult to actually manage or simulate in real life. So yeah, I'm sure defunding is pretty much not the way to go.
It's stupid. What we need is retraining, and recruiting needs to be improved so we get good people with badges and guns, not bad. But without police, we have anarchy, and that's what the left wants. They want anarchy. They're going to keep doing this crap until, like Trump finally is starting to say, hey, he sees the weak-kneed bears, the gutless wonders, and sends in troops to give law and order. But it's going to go on until the election, because Biden couldn't be elected dog catcher. And if he did, he'd steal dog tags. The bottom line is that they're going to be in for a shock.
Sir, I love how we got full circle on this, and I really love to get perspectives other than just you always talking about, obviously, Bruce Lee and the movies, which is always a pleasure to hear. But you've done more than enough interviews on that, so I really would like, I wanted with this interview to get to know a little bit of the person, and not just the O'Hara or the Carl Miller, that you played in the movies, which everybody loves, obviously. So thank you so much for this little bit, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Bruno, it's been a pleasure. I really enjoy you and your questions, and I always try to help anybody with a podcast or article or anything else I can do to help others, and that's what we need a lot more of.
Exactly.
Love, not hate. And another little thing I'll finish with. My dad was a horrible guy. I left home early, and I hated him until I was about 30 when I got married. And then one day I said, stupid, it's not hurting him. And so I forgave him. And then I went, no, stupid, thank him. I started thanking my father for being the violent SOB, because I wouldn't be world professional champion. I wouldn't be a multimillionaire. So we need to start thanking people who do bad things. You get rid of them, you get away from them like a bad cop. Get them out, take their badge away, put them to prison, whatever. But we need to support the good ones. And your reality is, in my opinion, start thanking people who do bad things to you. Thank them, because it opens your eyes, it makes you aware. And we wouldn't be us. It takes a lot of balls to be a stuntman, okay? You couldn't have gotten there if you didn't have some athleticism, some attitude. Somebody or a bunch of somebody's in your life gave you the confidence to go put that very dangerous career on your platform. And the same thing with interviewing. I respect journalists. If just be fair, don't be one-sided.
Oh yeah.
And so anyway, yeah, I was happy to do it. I'm happy to meet you, if only by computer. I'm sorry it was so challenging. But as I tell everybody, I'm only a blue belt in computer. I can send or receive emails. I can Google. That's about it. But anyway, it was a pleasure. I hope to meet you face to face someday. And anything else I can do, I'm happy to do it.
Sir, thank you so much.
All need help. If somebody asks me for anything, I do it for them. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day and be safe.
You too, sir.